Only 30 minutes. I was assured I'd have 2 hours, but I guess we'll have to make 30 minutes. We'll have to make do with what we have. You all will have to forgive me for the red towel, but it is hot in here. I am sweating like a leftist surrounded by a bunch of moms for liberty. So I'm going to need this, I think. Well, the very first thing we're going to do, as always, we're going to thank our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, particularly on this day that we're on the day, this being Sunday, this being the Sabbath. But we're also going to thank him because I'm going to tell you what, this is the best looking crowd I've ever spoken in front of. Wow. And we've got some awesome voices in this room. And so we give him thanks for, for blessing us, for putting us in this blessed and prosperous land. But let's just get right down to brass tacks. We give him thanks for giving us the liberties that we have because we know that our rights come from our Creator. And we give him thanks each and every day because of that. So very first thing right off the bat, we give thanks to him. So a long time ago, as a song once started, there was this lady who lived in a place called Britannia. And Britannia had been invaded by the Roman Empire. Britannia was split up into tribes. And this woman was a mother of 2 daughters and the wife of the chief of the tribe known as the Iceni. Her name was Boudica. And Roman law dictated that when her daughters came of age, they were to be turned over to the person who had administration over their land. Well, she ignored that. Her husband ignored that. They knew that their daughters belonged to them and to the Iceni tribe, and so they refused to turn their daughters over to the Romans. Because of this, the Romans came to the tribe, annexed the tribe, horsewhipped Boudica, and raped her daughters in front of her. They also murdered her husband. That was a bad move for the Romans. Boudica did not go off into the night and slink away as a victim of the Romans. Boudica stood up. And not only did she stand up, she stood up and she raised an army of her fellow Britannians. And she marched across the land to fight the British. Her revolt may have failed, but Boudica is responsible for the foundations of the United Kingdom from which this nation would be born. A woman, a mother, determined to see justice done and to stand up for her daughters and her husband. Move forward a little bit in time, there was the west coast of Africa. The African slave trade was in full swing. The nations of Congo and Benin were fully engaged in selling captives as commodities on the open market to be sold into the new world for sugar and for rice and on other plantations in South America and what would become the United States of America. It was in full swing. But inside this one nation, there was this one lady, one woman named Dona Beatrice Kempavita, who stood up and declared that the slave trade was immoral, that slavery was illegal. It was against the word of God. And again, she raised an army, started a new religion, and marched across the kingdoms of Africa that were engaged. Her revolt failed as well. Her revolt failed as well. In fact, she was burned at the stake because of her actions. But her movement was the foundation of the abolitionist movement that would take place in this country many years later, that would see slavery destroyed in this nation many years later. It was a woman who led the charge. Let's move forward just a little bit. A place called Valley Forge. The men are freezing. They're dying of disease. They're starving. And in their camp and little groups, they're sitting around talking about how they can overthrow General Washington because they're saying the cause is not worth it. We're out here starving and freezing and dying for something we don't even understand, being led by this man who is leading us to our death. in this cruel and unforgiving place. And what happened? All of a sudden, a woman shows up, a woman named Martha Washington. She showed up with her fellow women with wagon loads of food and blankets and Bibles. And she encouraged those men to stay the course with her husband. And she saved the day that day for General Washington. She saved the revolution on that day, you can say. A woman saved the day. Move forward a little bit more in history. Move forward a little more in history. There's a woman who got off from work, tired as a dog because she was a seamstress. Her feet were hurting. And there was already a big fight kind of going on for civil rights in the country. And there was already discussions of having maybe some type of protest against the racial segregation that existed on buses. But on that day, she wasn't thinking about any of that. She was thinking about sitting down, taking a load off of her feet because of how she had worked all day long. And so she sat down and refused to give up her seat when she was told to do so. She made her mark in history. And she made her mark directly in my life. You see, I would not be here possibly today had it not been for the stand that she took by sitting down. A woman. You see, the left has this problem. The left has a problem of thinking that women's history started with Hillary Clinton and Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I have news for you. History is women's history. Women literally shaped the landscape of history. You could say, in fact, that we would not be here at all if it was not for Queen Isabella, who financed the trip that first brought us to what we call now the New World. You could say that we would not be here at all had it been not for a woman named Virginia Dare. You could say we would not be here at all had it not been for every woman who has supported this nation on its journey. You see, women are not just part of history, they are history itself. When you discuss history, if you don't discuss what women have done, the story is incomplete. And everyone knows this one simple fact. Actually, it's two facts kind of rolled together. Number one, nothing gets done until the women get involved. Second, if you know what's best for you, don't piss off the women. In any confrontation throughout history, it was always when the women got involved that stuff started going. And oftentimes it started going bad for the people who started the confrontation. Because women are determined. They are determined. They are organized. They are smart. Sometimes they're scary. I promise I will get the trash can as soon as we get home. We'll go out the first thing when we get home, dear. We bring all those historical references, we bring them up to right now to where we're standing right now in front of this wonderful, beautiful group of domestic terrorists. Wow, you guys are doing the worst job ever of terrorism. I tell you, Antifa ain't got nothing on you guys. Gosh, the Klan, oh wow, they got nothing on you guys. You guys are doing a bang-up job of being terrorists. What kind of lunacy are we living in today? What kind of lunacy are we living in today? Let's start at what's going on at the national level. We live in a nation right now that is built on the ideal of being a sovereign nation, but we have a government that refuses to close down our border and secure our border and to make our nation and keep our nation a sovereign nation. We have all the tools that we need to do it. We have a fantastic military. We have great volunteers. We have governors and all types of people who are willing to go to the border, do what needs to be done to secure it and make sure that those people who come across have been checked and vetted and are not coming here to do us harm. We refuse to do it. Why? Why? talk at length about why. But that's just one thing. Look at the energy situation in this country. You know, I was having a conversation with a member of my family. I won't mention which one. Somebody we know. And they said to me, you know, the United States would be okay if we had our own oil and our own gas, and if we had our own that we could get out of the ground, and all the other countries didn't have it. And I apprised my relative of a fact. The United States has more fuel under its feet than any other nation on earth. But we refuse to drill for it. Why? Why? I can tell you about the border, why we don't want to close the border. We don't want to close the border currently because the current administration sees that as a violation not of United States sovereignty or decency, but a violation of the Democratic agenda. Bottom line, the leftist agenda is to bring this nation down to its basest level, to destroy the liberty that we have built through destroying its sovereignty. And as far as the oil goes, we all know what that's all about. That's about a climate change cabal that cares more about the earth itself than the humans who live here. If there's anything that can be said about the climate change cabal is that they hate human beings. They want them to freeze to death in the winter and burn to death in the summer and walk everywhere they go, all the modern advances that we have. They don't want any of it for us. For us, that means for you and for me, but for the ones who run the cabal, the private jets and the SUVs are just fine. For the nations who despise women and murder homosexuals, drilling and enriching themselves with oil is fine. But for the nation that stands for liberty, we have to restrict ourselves and not be able to fuel ourselves or feed ourselves or protect ourselves. The world has gone crazy, in short. So, what are we called to do about all this stuff? What are we called to do about it? In our own way, what are we called to do about it? Well, there are simple ways that we can push back against this thing. One of the ways we can is by being in this room here today. Being in this room today. You see all those things that I just mentioned. I mentioned those things not because I'm necessarily in favor of oil companies or because I'd like for gas to be 89 cents a gallon, which I am in favor of. Or because I want to restrict anyone from coming into this nation. It's not why I stand for those things. I stand for those things because those are the things that go part and parcel with preserving our liberty in this country. And I don't understand why the left despises liberty. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. You see, because the left, they read the history books also. They read the history books also. And they know what I just said about women, about moms, about the motivations that they have, about the tenacity that they have, about the determination that they have. And so when you started to go out and do one of the things you need to do to preserve your liberty, you were immediately attacked from the highest level by the leftists. When you went down to the school board to defend your children against the filth, let me say that word again. Where's the camera that I'm speaking? Is there a camera back there? When these moms went to defend their children against this filth that these so-called educators were trying to feed them, the Attorney General of this nation had the unmitigated gall to call you domestic terrorist. As far as I'm concerned, the one that is feeding pornography to children, that is the criminal and the domestic terrorist. Why aren't you doing something about that? But those leftists read the history books and they saw it. They saw you coming from a mile away. They said, oh my God, we've pissed off the mothers. We've got to do something. Call them domestic terrorists. Call them racist. Call them bigots. Send the protesters out to go protest. What time do those guys get off, by the way? Wonder how much they're making an hour. Oh, they're gone already? They're not, they're still out there. You know, I don't understand it. They're out there standing in the blazing hot sun, protesting against the liberty that gives them the right to stand in the hot sun and protest. If they had one brain in their head, they'd be inside here celebrating liberty with you instead of standing outside in the hot sun protesting against it. But they saw you coming from a mile away, so the attack was immediately on. They wanted to squash you. They wanted to separate you in your communities. They wanted people to run away from you. They wanted people to back away and say, oh, Moms for Liberty, I can't get involved with that. That's a dangerous hate group. Moms for Liberty is a dangerous hate group. Are you kidding me? The world has gone crazy. It's gone crazy. But they know the story, and they know the playbook that they always have. Lie, deride, besmirch, make innuendos, tell flat out untruths. Because you quoted Hitler, you support Hitler. I guess every history book in America supports Hitler now. They all quote him. And here's the thing, whether you're talking about Adolf Hitler, whether you're talking about Chairman Mao, whether you're talking about Stalin, whether you're talking about Pol Pot, whether you're talking about Castro in Cuba, or whether you're talking about a dozen other despots all around the globe, it is time for us to get back and start reading some of those quotes. It's time for us to start teaching our children some of those quotes. It's time for us to start teaching our children about the dirty, despicable, awful things that those communist and socialist despots did in our history. See, right now we got all these college professors sitting in the classroom wanting to tell our children how wonderful communism is, how wonderful socialism is. Oh, socialism is great. Socialism is a wonderful thing. Countries around the world that operate under socialism are getting along quite fine today. They have medical for everybody. They've got dental for everybody. They've got this for everybody and that for everybody. They don't reveal the hidden details. If one more person tries to compare Denmark to America, I think I'm going to lose my lunch. Denmark is not America, and Denmark will never be America. The Netherlands will never be America. The UK will never be America. There is no other place on earth like America. Name the country. How many people are dying to get inside Denmark? How many people talk about the Denmark dream? There is only one place like America, one place where you can see a room full of people like this. You see, this is what America looks like right here. I've met every nationality in here, every religion in here. Every one of these people come from different walks of life, but we all share a common bond. And what is that common bond? That common bond is not a common race. It's not a common hair color, eye color. It's not even a common religion. The common bond that we share is that we believe in the idea, the principle of America. That quote, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. We all believe in that. Because we all believe in it, we all move forward under one banner and for one cause, to preserve the liberty and the rights that God has given us. You see, back home, I got some people back home, they cannot stand Mark Robinson. They hate, I know every time I walk into the Senate, some of them look and say, darn, that guy didn't die in his sleep last night. Come on. I need some relief from this guy. He's everything I despise. You know why he's everything I despise? Because he disproves every one of my lies. You see, I'm a leftist, and I like to walk around North Carolina and tell little black children, you can't succeed because your parents were poor. You grew up poor, and white people hate you and have privilege. and they don't want you to succeed. And they like to tell folks, it's great that you'd like to be a congressman or senator or so-and-so, but it takes a certain type of person to do that. Takes a certain type of person. Great that you have those dreams, but let's be realistic about this. I got a friend that runs the sanitation department. He can get you on as a garbage man. That's the thinking. That's the mentality. Here's the other mentality. The mentality is like the governor of our state, who declared a state of emergency over public education. Do you know why? Because some Republicans had the unmitigated gall to suggest that parents should have the right to determine their children's educational destiny. And so he declared a state of emergency. Now listen to the ironies of irony. This man sends his daughter to a private school. In other words, to people like me who grew up without, he's saying this: I like you, but I don't want you in school with my daughter at the private school. We love all of you little brown people, but you need to stay over there in your failing public school. I don't want to give you a voucher to get out of that place, because then you may come to my school. And you might get the scholarship that my child may be getting. What an horrendous thought. People tell me all the time, they say, you got to appeal to the soccer mom, the suburban moms. The suburban moms I have appealed to are in this room. They are listening, they are intelligent, they are well-spoken, and they are awake, not woke. But as a people who believe in America, it's not our job to go fishing for people who have already rejected us, who despise us, who have paid these protesters to be out here. That's not our job. Our job is to now go outside of suburbia, to go into those urban areas where the votes from suburbia are putting people into office that are destroying the urban areas, to reach out to those folks and tell them there is a better way. There is a better day, and you can make it happen with your vote. Who you put in office can literally give you your power back. You can take hold of your destiny by having control of your children's education. You can take hold of your destiny by not allowing a politician to dictate your life to you. You can take hold of your destiny by choosing a paycheck over a welfare check. You can take hold of your destiny by returning to the time-honored traditions that made this nation and its people great. One of the things that confounds me more than anything is this: in this nation, there was real racism. Yes, there was, and we all know it. But at a time when racism was at its highest, black people were succeeding at their very best. 85% of them were mother-father household with children. They own their own businesses. They own their own banks. They own their own schools. They own their own neighborhoods. Self-determination was the rule of the day. Just as those founders were self-determining when they signed that Declaration of Independence, before they were even free, black folks in this country were bound and determined to be self-determining, self-supportive, and they clung to each other, and they clung to their guns, and they clung to their Bibles, and they did what was right by their neighborhoods and their families. Then all of a sudden, old Lyndon Johnson popped up out of the weeds. Lyndon Johnson came up with this program and said, we need to give them something. Not enough to be powerful, just enough. Few crumbs off the table. If we play it right, we'll have these people voting for us. And those of y'all that know the quote know he didn't say people. We'll have these people voting for us for the next 200 years. The damage that has been done by the liberal experiment of the welfare state in this nation has been particularly troubling to the black community in this nation. The neighborhoods that used to thrive are no more. Schools that were once excellent are no more. Families are broken apart, and now more than 75% of black homes don't have a father in them. The family unit has literally been destroyed because we have replaced God with government. So what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? Well, you can do that. That's a good start. That's right. In case you forget how to spell my name, I'll show it to you. What are we going to do about it? I'm going to end with this. Beginning this thing, I talked about all these women in history. Talked about Boudica, and I talked about General Washington's wife, and talked about Rosa Parks. You could mention a whole lot of other women. I could mention women all the way from Boudica to Dona Beatrice Kemper-Vita, to Rosie the Riveter, to Rosa Parks, all the way up to the women sitting in this room right now. But let me tell you the story about a woman here. This is a woman named Eva Robinson. Her name was Eva Keith. She had 10 children, grew up in abject poverty. She was even despised to a certain extent by her own mother because the color of her skin was a little too dark. Grew up hard. Got an older brother who said my oldest brother said the first time he ever saw my mother, she was being led away in handcuffs for some reason. My mom grew up hard. She grew up hard. But let me tell you not about how my mom's life started, let me tell you how it ended. You see, in 1979, my father passed away. He left my mom with 5 children in her house. 5. Age first grade to 12. My brother was a senior in high school. My mom had a choice to make. My mom told this story till the day she died about how a friend of hers came to her and sat down at the table and they had a cup of coffee, and that friend told her, well, now you don't have a thing in the world to worry about. Now you can sit back and let the welfare take care of you. I'll take you downtown tomorrow and I'll show you how you can sign up to get checks for your husband and each one of your children. And you won't have to do a thing but get up once a month and walk out to that mailbox, pull your check and go cash it. And my mom said she sat there in silence and listened to her. And when the conversation was over and the coffee was finished, she got up with that friend and escorted her to the door and told her thank you, and that friend left. My mom said as soon as she closed the door, she knew what she was going to do. She said, that lady told me I should go get on welfare, but I knew in my heart I wanted to get a job. And so, my mom, with no education and all the reason in the world to lay down and die, a ward of the state, got up and walked to the university that was located across the street from us. And she got a job as a custodian. I think back on the days when my mom used to walk to work every day. See, I was a kid, I had no idea what she was going through. I had no idea about the hopes and dreams that she had for her children. I had no idea about the worry that was in her when she laid down and went to sleep each night. Just like these children that were up here today, they don't know what you go through. They don't know the names that you are called. They don't know the attacks that you suffer at their behest. They don't know, and nor did I. I did not know that my mom went to work many a day hungry because the only food we had in the house was reserved for her children. I do not know about the days she had to walk in the heat and in the cold to make sure that she took care of us. I tell everyone that I know, all of those people that I named, I have a great admiration for each one of them. I have a great admiration for many of our presidents and many of our senators and many great people throughout history, but there is not one single solitary person on this earth that I can compare to my own mother. She was the example of what a woman should be: strong and wise and willing to sacrifice herself for her children. And so I'll end with this, and I'll leave this with you. We ask the question, what are we going to do about all of the things that we face today? I'll leave you with this. Joshua 1:9. From the words of our Creator in heaven. Have I not commanded thee, not requested, not asked, not begged, not suggested? Have I not commanded thee to be strong and of a good courage? That is what we need today in this nation. People who are willing to stand and be of a good courage and fight back against the wickedness that we see attacking our nation, attacking our children, attacking us, and attacking the foundations of our liberty. Go out. Be of good courage. Stand strong. Remember who you are as Americans and believers. And let's save this nation for all time. God bless you. God bless the great state of North Carolina, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you so much. Thank you.